Thank you for listening to Chart Your FI. I'm your host, Christopher Elder. And on Chart Your FI, we talk about financial independence and how it is a means to an end to achieving your goals and finding your purpose in life. Stand by for the sounds of freedom. Hey, I wanted to plug you guys on a new podcast that's coming out. It's called Return to Roots. It's retention, transition, and reintegration from military to veterans in the community. It's a resource podcast that's meant to provide actionable content to help military, active duty, and veterans transition, reintegrate, and also do well in their military career. It's important to have a plan for your transition and never too early to start. One thing that I always hear from everybody that's transitioned out: start now. I hope you enjoy. Take care. In today's episode, we're going to be talking to Vincent D Howard. Vincent D Howard is a trial attorney and partner of the law offices of Ted B. Wagner, TBW Law. Before that, he was enlisted in the Army as a military policeman.
I grew up in Clarksville, Tennessee, and if anyone in the military is familiar with that area, that's where Fort Campbell military base is. It's Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The headquarters is in Kentucky, but most of that base is in Tennessee. It's right on the border of Tennessee and the Kentucky border. So I grew up around the Army. My dad was stationed there where he met my mom, and that kind of gave me the idea to go into the Army. So I did that after high school. Did military police because growing up, I felt the cops used to screw with us a lot. So I worked at the drive-through at Dairy Queen, and as the cops would come through, I'd say, hey, I want to be a cop. What do I have to do? They said, if you join the military and come back, we'll definitely hire you. So that's what I did. I said, okay, I'm going into the military. That's what I'm going to do. There's an interesting Top Gun story that's linked in there. But anyways, that's what I did. And I did military police and stationed over 142nd MP Company in Yongsan, Seoul, Korea. And then stateside, I was 980th MP Company in Hurlong, California. A lot of people don't know where that's at. That's like about an hour outside of Reno, between Reno and Susanville. And so that was my last duty station. It's no longer there, but when I got out of the military, I stayed in that area, and I was going to try to become a police officer, but there was a freeze, and I ended up going to law school. And so now I'm a lawyer here in Southern California in Orange County. That's the short version of it. So that's what I'm doing now.
So you joined the Army to become a police officer.
I did.
And now and after that you got out and became you tried to become a cop, but
Yeah.
it just wasn't in the cards, and now you're a lawyer. So like how did you make the step to lawyer?
So when there was a freeze on being a police officer, I ended up working at a youth detention center, and they were hiring former military and college athletes to work there. And so I figured if I wasn't going to do law enforcement, that was sort of along that track what I was going to do. I had some friends that helped me transition from the military to that. A lot of us were moving to that, so that's what I did. But at some point, when the freeze came on, I ended up going to college. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be in law enforcement, I want to be in the top echelon. So I decided to go try out for the FBI. And I did security at El Dorado Hotel Casino, and when I was going through college. And the supervisor there was retired NHP. Nevada Highway Patrol. And he knew someone in the FBI. He hooked me up with a recruiter. I went through all that, and my last semester, I was going to Costa Rica, saved up all my little money to go, last little bit of money. And we were going through the checklist, because being the FBI, you need to have a degree in law or accounting, or have related experience. The military police was a related experience. But as we were going through the checklist, my eyesight was bad. And they said, well, you can get the LASIK surgery and then get a, go back and get an eye exam. But the LASIK was so expensive then. And I just saved all my money to do my last little semester overseas. So I said, let me go there and I'll come back and I rethink it. And I had a buddy that was going to law school. His dad was a judge, so his path was predetermined. And when I came back, I didn't know what to do. Who can do FBI? So he said, why don't you do law? So I said, okay. So that's what I did. And I started looking into it and preparing myself, getting myself ready for that.
So one little thing that hindered you from saying, I'll sign up for the FBI was, ended up propelling you into law. And
Yes.
then so how was it like when you became a lawyer and you chose that route? What was some of the steps you had to take?
Well, the first step I had to get out of the way is I had to study and take the LSAT. That is the test that you have to take that determines what school you get into. And so what I did is I had just graduated from UNR, and I was semi-homeless. I was living in my car at the time because I had just gone through a divorce. I just got back from overseas. The divorce took all my money. So I was kind of, the day before graduation, I was living in my car and living on people's couches and stuff. But I got that resolved fairly quickly. But I found that you have to take this test. And after I just graduated from college, they wanted their money for the student loans, And so I enrolled in a PhD program just so I can hold off the loans. So I have 18 credits of that. So while I was doing that and teaching sociology 101 classes, because I'm a sociology major, I had to study for and take the LSAT. Based on the score you get, you can apply to certain law schools. And so that was the first step. So I had to do that. And then actually apply and got in. And then that I ended up having to move from Nevada to California to start law school.
Wow. And so you got out of the military,
Mhm.
then you went to college, and then you kind of was like, well, what I want to do, I got the psychology degree. We're looking at the FBI, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Costa Rica. Forget you guys for right now.
Yeah.
Come back. And then you go through a turmoil,
Yeah.
of having to deal with a relationship ending.
Yeah.
And then all while you're doing this, you're still going to school, you're still kicking butt. My question is were you able to use any of your, because you said that you were in the Army, were you able to use any of your veteran benefits?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was instrumental every step of the way in the transition, is to use my GI Bill. Now, it wasn't as good as it is now, but it was a huge help when I got out. And so that made the transition, through school much easier. And it lasted throughout my entire undergrad. And I think it ran out, though, my first year of law school. My first year of law school. Yeah. But it was a huge help. It was a huge help.
And then you started practicing law. Like, so the LSAT sent you to California. Was it here locally in San Diego, or?
Well, the law school sent me here.
Okay.
And so because growing up in Tennessee, I always wanted to live in California. And when you're growing up, you look on TV, you see palm trees, beautiful people, beaches. And I have a funny story about that. So when I was stationed in Korea, and I was like 19 years old, something like that. They said my next duty station was going to be Herlong, California. And all I heard was California. So I'm thinking beaches, palm trees, oh, this is going to be great. I mean, Herlong is near Reno, Nevada. It is way inland. There are no bodies of water near there. But I wasn't thinking.
They call that something.
I get on, I fly that big flight over. I land in Reno. It's late at night. I'm tired. That van comes and gets you. I sleep in the van and I'm dropped off at the base. Still thinking I'm going to be near beaches. This is how stupid I was. And I wake up the next morning thinking I'm going to see beaches. I throw open the curtain and I look out and there's mountains and swear to God, tumbleweeds blowing by. I'm like, where the fuck am I at? I'm in the middle of nowhere. Where are the beaches? This is California. Most of my friends who were born and raised in California don't even know where Herlong is.
You know what they call that?
Prison.
You know what they call that, right?
What's that?
It's called catfishing.
Exactly.
You got catfished.
Catfishing of someone who didn't know geography of the United States at the time.
I mean, so my mom lives close to Susanville.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with that, man. You know what the biggest thing there is? Oh, after the Army left, it was the prison.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, okay. So you're familiar. That's Lassen County and all that stuff.
I'm just familiar.
No, that's not Lassen. What county is that up there?
You know, I couldn't even tell you, man.
Okay.
I just know that she lives near there.
Yeah.
And I've visited some towns there. And really all they have is like this phone booth. And somehow they're able to call themselves a town because they had a phone booth, you know?
Oh, yeah. There's a town close to Herlong, still between Reno and Susanville, called Doyle. And they were famous for their lizard races. When you go, there's a huge billboard there and it has lizard. I don't know if I ever saw a lizard race, but I remember seeing that billboard there.
They were going too fast for you to see them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, I'd be so mad if I were you. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get some beaches, and
I was devastated. So when it came time, I was more educated and more worldly, and I knew the geography of the United States a little bit better by the time I graduated from college. But when it came time to choose a law school, I picked my law school based on two things, which are different than what other people do. How nice the intake staff was to me, and its location, which was here in Southern California, here in Orange County, near actual real beaches.
Hey, do you have some palm trees of your own now?
Let's see. At our other house, we had palm trees. We don't have palm trees here at this house, but the next door neighbor does. And going up into our community, there's palm trees. So yeah, I see them every day now instead of tumbleweeds.
Hey, down here in San Diego, we have tumbleweeds.
Really?
There's tumbleweeds everywhere. I'm driving down the highway, going to where was I going, man? I was going to La Mesa. And there's a tumbleweed about the size of like a Volkswagen Bug going down. I'm like, what? Where did this thing come from?
It's probably looking for me.
And then I remember, I'm like, San Diego is literally a desert that, I tell everybody, I'm like, hey, everything's, just remember, everything was brought here.
Yeah.
It's actually a desert.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So getting back to being a lawyer. So what was it like when you first started practicing law? Like, what were you doing?
Wow, that's a good question, because a lot of people think that when you go to law school, you get out and you know how to be a lawyer, how to bring lawsuits and all that stuff. I tell people this: law school only teaches you how to analyze and think like a lawyer, how to spot issues, but the actual practice of law, you have to get out and get work experience doing that. And I didn't know that going in, I definitely realized it coming out. And so, I'm I think I'm in a good position because I've practiced in a number of different areas of law. And so I think I have a pretty good eye at issue spotting. And I've practiced in enough areas where I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. So I always tell my friends that I'm their lawyer on speed dial. If ever you have an issue, let me know, because I can identify what the issue is and I can get you to the right lawyer to help you out. But yeah, but it's a lot of, it's all on the job training is what it is. For me, when I got out, well, during law school, I clerked at the Riverside District Attorney's Office. And so I did that. I tried a lot of cases there. And that's where I thought I was going to work. Because until I entered the practice of law, I didn't realize there were so many areas of law. And the only part of the law I was familiar with was criminal law. All the TV shows I seen growing up are about criminal defense attorneys, prosecutors. Everyone I knew was involved with that part of the system. The only other systems maybe family law, but I didn't know any big shows about that. So that's what I did. I worked at the DA's office with the eye towards, if I learn how to prosecute the cases, then I become a criminal defense attorney, and then I can do that. And so I went there, one, because they had paid internships over the summer, whereas other people didn't. And so I did very well there, and they offered me a job. Now, the hitch and the get along is that I had to pass the bar in order to get the job, and I didn't. And that was devastating. That was devastating to me. This is the first time I'd ever failed something. And I remember when I got the results, how my heart dropped. And I don't even remember, I checked the results when I was at work in Riverside. And from Riverside to Orange County, that's about an hour drive. I don't remember that drive back. That's how devastated I was. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because while I was preparing to take the bar again, I met a woman on the treadmill who got me a job at a civil law firm. She saw me studying for the bar, and she asked what I was doing. And then we struck up a conversation, told her I was used to be in the Army. And they had a lawsuit at the time against Halliburton for some things they were doing in Iraq. And they had just received a whole bunch of military documents and stuff, and they didn't know what to make of it. And they said, you have military experience. Why don't you come work for us? And so that's how I got my first civil job at this big, mass torts products liability firm. So that's what I started off doing. Turns out the documents weren't that technical at all. I think they were just documents that said Army on it. I think anyone could have read it, but it led to me getting a job there. So that's all she wrote as far as that's concerned.
Like, well, see, Barbara, this is what this means.
Exactly.
Oh man, no, it's I'm glad you mentioned the bar exam, because my interaction with other to-be lawyers or successful lawyers, which isn't that, I don't seek lawyers, or I'm not in legal trouble all the time, but I talk to pretty much anybody that will pay me 2 cents and attention. You know what I mean? Like, give me a little bit of attention. Hey, I'm going to have a conversation with you. So I talked to them, and they talk about how hard the bar exam was. And a lot of people fail that thing.
Oh yeah, over in California, our fail rate is over 50%. So you got a 50-50 shot when you do it. And for someone like me who's always succeeded at everything I've done, and to fail that first time is devastating. But it's commonplace, and things happen for a reason, and things turned out very well for me because I failed. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that and I tell people, I'm like, hey, people that tell me, oh, I failed the bar exam, they're like, well, it drove me to study my craft more. It drove me drove me deeper into it. And
Yeah,
it's I would have to argue that it's a good thing that people do fail because they become better for it.
I think so.
Because then they turn around and they take it again. Yeah, it's a whole lot of angst and all that stuff, but just like in the for the Navy, we take advancement exams
Hmm.
and we have boards and all that stuff, and
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
always get promoted right away.
yeah.
And you get this little moment of did I make it or did I not make it? And then the
Hmm.
results come out, and if you didn't make it, it's going to drive you. If you're the right person, it's going to drive you even deeper into your craft. So that way
Absolutely,
you become better, you hit the books more, you become more of a subject matter expert. So that way
absolutely,
you're more deserving. Yep.
absolutely,
So
absolutely, absolutely. And you have to, and see, that's the key. When you fail, because you're going to fail at a lot of things in life. But you can't let that define you, and you can't let that get you down. You have to keep driving forward and striving to succeed. And that's, I tell people I attribute a lot of that drive and determination of stuff that I learned when I was in the Army. At the time, the Army slogan, I think it's the Army of One now, but at the time it was the Army, a great place to start. And for me, it really was, as a kid growing up, the son of a single mom in Tennessee, I had a lot of anger and I had a lot of, I needed direction.
mhm.
And when I came to the end in high, I was just telling my girlfriend about this the other day. We used to get in fights, all types of stuff, acting crazy when we were little. And there was a reason why cops were fucking with us, because we were acting like knotheads.
Yeah.
but I remember as I was getting ready to turn 18 and graduate, I'm like, fuck, I got to do something with my life. And I don't know necessarily what that is. And joining the Army was it for me. It taught me leadership, how to lead, how to follow, and it gave me structure. And everything I learned in the military, I I've taken that with me and applied it to everything that I do in life, down to trying cases, running a law firm, or just interacting with people. So, I'm forever grateful for that experience that I got in the military, and it was good for me. It's good for me.
I've done a couple of interviews with some NFL players,
Hmm.
and they also convey the same thing with football.
Hmm.
How having to wake up early and hit the gym and hit the practice, having that structure. Like, even it's not just necessarily the military, like you and I experienced, and how it
Hmm.
gave us both our structure and discipline. You could find that in other realms too,
Absolutely.
but developing that, y- it's not natural for us to develop on our own,
Yeah.
and unless we come from a place where, I don't want to speak to your situation, but I can
Hmm.
speak to mine. I didn't have a nuclear family. I didn't have
Yeah.
good structure. My dad, he tried hard when he had me. My mom, she did the best she could while she had me.
Yeah.
But I was seriously lacking that structure, and just like you, I was a knothead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a knothead. There was a
Yeah.
reason why the police knew my name.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the police knew my associates' names.
Yeah.
Um, I even got expelled from school
Yeah.
when I was a junior in high school.
Yeah.
And it was around that point in time I had um a good person that appeared in my life that helped my dad kind of corral me,
Oh, good.
because and helped me join the military.
Oh,
My
right on.
recruiter, I had a good recruiter story. Um,
Let's hear
oh
it.
yeah, a good recruiter story. Um, this guy, he helped me. He was actually there. He would actually like listen to me and talk to me. And then he was like, "Hey, like Chris, you need to do these steps." But he wouldn't give it all to me all at once. He like said, "Okay, do this now.
Hmm.
Okay, take this step next. Okay, show up, come here once a week." He's like, "Now come here next week. We're going to be doing PT. and then like he was like he built us up during that process. And so because I was getting that little bit of structure,
Mhm.
a little bit of extra attention from this guy, it kept me out of trouble
Yeah.
until I was able to get into the military. And then um the rest is history from there. I've been
Oh,
in
right on.
20 years almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear you. That structure, that I would not be where I'm at
Yeah.
without it.
Absolutely. Same here. Same here. I tell people that all the time. Absolutely.
So after you, what was your first gig? So you, that lady, you were helping her out with, so you passed your bar exam, and then
Yeah.
and
So
then
I went to work for a law firm called Lopez Hodes, Restaino Millman and Skikos, and we did a lot of products liability and mass torts, bad medical devices or things like that. We're not the firms you see on TV, but usually those firms are getting cases and giving them to firms like us that actually did the cases. And so I did that for a while. And then I said, you know what, I can do this myself. So I started my own law firm. And so I was sworn in 2004 and worked at that firm. By 2007, I had my own firm. And then I did that all the way up until 2018, I think it was 2018. And then I went to work with a buddy of mine to really hone my trial skills and get more into doing personal injury work. The time I had my law firm, I did a number of different practice areas, but I really wanted to focus in on that. I had made a lot of contacts within the industry over the years. And so I had attorneys start sending me cases. And then I went to work with a very good friend of mine. He's like a brother to me, Rob Gibson, and he's tried a lot of cases. And so I started trying cases with him and learning from him and got pretty good at it. And then I just recently left there and became a partner at the firm I'm at now, Law Offices of Ted B. Wacker. And so I'm there now in Newport Beach and still doing personal injury, personal and catastrophic injury. And we're getting back into doing mass torts. So my career is coming full circle. We're only in 2 mass torts now, but there's some pretty good ones. So that's what I'm doing now.
man, so all that um from a kid living in Kentucky to an MP in the Army to feeling like, oh, the whole entire world's crushing down on me.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you're like, screw that, I'm going to keep going. And you kept going, and you started making, you
Yeah.
started doing really well in your craft and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole entire uh financial aspect, the VA probably helped you out tremendously. Your
Oh,
benefits probably helped out so much, it kept you out of serious debt, which probably allowed you to do well financially.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's funny because all these years, I'm like, I have VA healthcare now, and that's always available to you as a vet. And I certainly had it when I was in undergrad and college. Then I started working, and then I just take the healthcare that where I'm at. But I realized, why am I paying all this money for this the VA healthcare I have is very good, very good. Here where I'm at, my clinic is in Santa Ana, which is close. The main hospital is in Long Beach, and it's the same doctors that are here at a UCI Medical Center, a research hospital here, and they go back and forth between. So it's great. I love my VA healthcare and those doctors, and like you said early on with my VA benefits for my GI Bill, the military has been still looking out for me even after I'm out. Yeah, so yeah, it's good. And even when I went on my trip to Germany this summer, we stayed on the military base there in Stuttgart. If you have a disability rating, you can do that. And so I went with a buddy of mine, we served in the military together, the Army together back in Herlong. He got out and then went into the Air Force Reservists. He
Yeah.
just retired from that 2 years ago. And we've been friends for that long. We've been friends since '92. And we just went back to Reno and had a little reunion of our military, buddies that could make it there. It was good to see everyone. But yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, Stuttgart is really cool area
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I love
He was
going.
stationed there. It's nice. I like it.
Oh, you got lucky then. Like Stuttgart is like, my goodness. Did you go tour a lot of the countryside while you were there?
We did. So we flew into Zurich, stayed there for 24 hours, then flew into Stuttgart, and that was our base right there on the military base. So from there we went to Czech Republic, went to Prague, and then we went to where else did we go? Amsterdam, went to Munich, and I think we went somewhere else. I can't remember where else we went. But we had so many more places we wanted to go, but time was short, and we had to get back. But it was a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah,
that's the one thing that I love um about the military is the travel.
oh yeah,
Aspect.
absolutely.
And Sarah and I we are planning on traveling. That's kind of like what we want to do. Is we want to travel.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Take your time,
It's,
brother.
it's like, what am I going to do? And I was just talking to my wife today about it. She's like, I don't know what you're going to be. You figure something out. It's like, just go to school and then we'll figure something out, like at the towards the end. But it's just a weird predicament. I never thought I would ever be in a situation where I'd be where I'm at. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man. So the law firm you were at, it's over, you said, in Newport area?
Yeah, we're in Newport Beach, right in the heart of Newport Beach. It's funny because I used to live in that area, and I moved about a year ago here to Laguna Niguel, and I was going to be closer to the law office I was at, but then I ended up switching law offices right across the street from where I used to live. So it's funny, but that's where we're at now, and I like it. I really like the firm. It's a blessing to get to work with someone who's a good friend of yours, Ted Wacker. We're very good friends. When I started off at that mass torts firm, he worked at another mass torts firm that we did a lot of work with. So I knew of Ted then, but then we served on the board for the Orange County trial lawyers here locally. And he was president in 2015. I was president in 2016, right behind him. And so we really became good friends, during that time period. And really, I wasn't looking to make a move from the firm I was at, but Ted and I were having dinner one night, and we just started talking, and then it just kind of formulated. And so now we're working together. And Rob's a friend of mine too. He's a brother to me, and I've just been lucky to be working with good people that I know, love, and respect. And started off with Rob and carried on, through working with Ted, and it's been really good. 2022 was a good year for me.
It's like you have a good tribe around you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important. Even like when we were talking earlier, making the transition from the military to civilian life, for me, that transition was made easier because of the tribe I had around me. I was talking to people who had already made that transition, and they helped me do that. And that's always been, the key to my success in anything I do. If you surround yourself with good people, you can lean on them, and when you need it, they can provide you with good advice. So it's a good deal.
Yeah, man, That's super important. And that's kind of like, it's kind of what I've always tried to really do is surround myself, not just with like-minded people,
Yeah.
because I don't want groupthink,
Hmm.
but with people that are in it for the reason of helping others and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And we may have totally different opinions on things.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But we all have the same uh purpose of helping,
Yeah. Absolutely. That's important. That's
you
important. You
know.
got to want to help people. And I think you should want to help people. I mean, uh, I think that's what it's all about. And if it's not, then I don't know. I think I think a lot of problems can come from that when we
Exactly.
stop wanting to help people and just care about ourselves only. So you know,
Yeah. The so what uh what would you like to convey to the listeners in here? I like the tribe thing. That was really good. I liked how you talked about, some of your trials that you overcame. But if you let's just say, um, what what would you recommend to that young law student that's out there, or that young high school student that's out there?
well, um, let's see. I'm going to speak to the law student first because that's easier for me to talk about since high school was such a long time ago. But but for that law student, you know, my advice to them would be this: don't get caught up with too many things that are going on within your law school. Get through it. Get through it. That's all. You know, when you're in law school, look. Let me back up even a little bit more. Throughout my entire life, you know, I do the best that I can do, and that's always been good enough. Okay. Um, Not worrying about what people think about me. I try to be the best person I can, and that's going to be enough because I'm not trying to please everyone, and that's always been good for me. But when you get into law school, it's almost like it's a bubble, and it's outside the real world. And so people in law school are concerned about what everyone's thinking of them, and they lose sight of what they're there for. Law school is just fucking law school. It is nothing fantastic, special, or great about it. Just get through it. Don't worry about what other people think or what other people are doing, because once you're out of law school, no one cares what you did in law school. And it's not as important as you thought what you were doing in law school was. So just get through it, you know. Um, and I know it can be hard to think about life after law school because so many things ride on you just making it through that. But one of the things that I tell law students that will make that transition easier from law school to the practice of law is to get outside that bubble, start doing things and networking with people in the profession. And so, that those when I go to law schools and speak, minus the foul language, that's pretty much what I tell them is that, law school is just this law school. Get through it and do your best, but get through it. But don't worry about graduating top of your class or anything like that. Just get through it. Because once you're through it and pass the bar, basically everything you did here is not going to matter. It's just not. And so do that and then start networking. The students that get ahead in the job markets are the students that start networking with attorneys early. And that was one thing that Alan Brown, he was an adjunct professor at my law school, who was also very active in the bar. That's the one thing he impressed upon me. And that's how I got my job at the DA's office. My job offer at the DA's office coming out is because I was starting to network with attorneys. I was already volunteering for the Orange County Trial Lawyers Association early on. before I became a member. And all of that stuff led to me making great contacts and great friends in this Orange County community. So that's what I would tell a law student. For a high school student, I'm going to think back and think about what I would have liked to have heard if I was a high school student. Because when I was in high school, neither my mom or my dad graduated from college. They didn't go. They didn't try to go. At the time, high school was the goal. Get through high school and get a job, and you have won. So my parents were divorced, and I lived with my mom, but both of my parents were in my life doing the best that they could. And so, they weren't pushing us to go to college. They were pushing us to get through high school and get a job and be, a member of society. And so when I was in high school, I didn't know anything about college. And when I talked to the teachers there, they were like, well, your parents either pay for college or you have to get a scholarship. Now, my parents were not going to be able to pay for college. We could barely get food on the table, let alone paying for some education that wasn't necessary to have, in their eyes. And scholarships, look, if the goal is to get through high school, and this is how I thought, the goal is to get through high school. I need 88 credits to get through there. I had close to 88 credits like my junior year. So I'm like, why the fuck get any more credits? I would literally sit in classes and do nothing. They're like, why aren't you participating? I don't need any more credits. I'm going to graduate. So that's where my mindset was. I wasn't going to college, so that's where it was, And I remember my economics professor telling me, you're never going to amount to anything with that type of attitude. And I remember thinking, well, fuck you. I can do whatever I set my mind to. And it's just that I didn't know about college. I didn't know about that. So my advice to someone who is in high school, really set your sights high. Don't limit what you can set your sights to. But when you do that, when you set your sights high, really dig into how are you going to get to that point, whatever point that is, if it's just to get through high school, if it's to get to college, or if it's, to do a certain job or whatever. Start thinking about that stuff early. And I think at every transition in my life, that is the key to a successful transition, is to start thinking about the transition early, whether it's high school to adult life, high school to college, college to law school, military to civilian life. Anticipate the transition. Think long and hard about what you want to do on that other side. And then think about what steps do you need to take to get there. Now, you might not know all those answers going into it, but that's where you have to surround yourself with people who have done it before, who have done it before you, so that you can get that guidance from them. And that's, that takes you getting good mentors in your life. So that's my advice to that group of people, just anyone making a transition in life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I always tell everybody, I'm like, hey, you have a goal, you have dreams.
Yeah.
You know what the difference between a goal and a dream is?
What's that, brother?
So you got a dream, but without any action towards it, that's what it stays.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Plan to it, then it becomes a goal.
Yeah. And achieve those little goals, and then you'll get the dream. Yeah.
You're not gonna become a partner at a law firm.
Yeah.
Next day. It takes a lot of things to master that craft.
Yeah.
And some would argue maybe you're not even done.
Mm-hmm.
who knows where your aspirations are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and it's like, hey, never settle. Always keep, when you get to that point, you're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Always ask yourself, what's next?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's that's awesome, man. And and if everybody's like, oh, what does this have to do with financial independence? His story talks towards how you become financially independent.
Absolutely.
You master your craft. You surround yourself around other people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
You have a little discipline, and and you know what financially independent people do? They don't sit there and talk about money all the time. They just
Yeah.
live the lifestyle that leads them to that and being
Yeah.
successful in your craft.
Yeah.
How you
Absolutely.
get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
What books would you recommend, or podcasts, or both? If you got a good podcast or a good book, do you recommend people to read?
Um, I don't do podcasts too often. I just listen to the Chris Elder podcast. So that one for sure. That one for sure. Um, Books, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a particular book to read because these days I don't do as much leisure reading as I like, as much as I am doing legal reading. So for me, this last three sets of cases that I read is very key in me being successful in these next trials I'm going to do.
I'm
So
only
I'm
cracking up
drawing a blank on
because
that one.
I'm only cracking up because I know exactly what you mean. It's like when, like one of the jobs I had to read, publications and
Yeah,
manuals and instructions. I did not want to read any books.
yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Um, and it's like but you did just highlight something, kind of what we just said about your craft. You really surround yourself with that craft, and
yeah,
I I I I get it, because you're like, I'm focused in on this, and not for yourself, but you're focused in on for your client.
oh yeah, oh absolutely,
You see what I'm
absolutely,
saying? Like, you're taking
absolutely.
care of your client by focusing in
Oh
on
yeah,
that. So,
like
oh,
like
okay.
this next trial I have coming up, he's depending on me. He's depending on me to tell his story. He's depending on me to know the facts of his case, so that I can relay that to 12 women and men in the jury box. And so I'm taking, all this time to do a lot of reading to get up to speed on that. We were brought into this trial at the last minute. So, I'm having to read a lot of stuff that usually I would have read over time. But yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in. And that's another reason why I love this profession, because you get to help people. And it's one of the few professions where you get to go into a court of law and speak on behalf of someone else, give voice to someone who normally wouldn't have a voice. And I love that. I love that.
That's awesome, man.
Sort of like what our
Um,
military does for the country.
yeah, yeah, you're a man of service.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
If so, let's say actionable content. If you had one piece of advice that you give somebody that would change their life uh for the better, what would you advise somebody to do? I know we covered a lot of stuff in here, but what is that one thing that sticks out to you?
You know what? I think if everyone just concentrates on what they can do to help their neighbor, the world would be a better place. Concentrate more on that. A lot of people concentrate on making more money, on a better place to live, a lot of things that'll make their own personal life better. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we all have to, at some time in our life, focus on that. But if at your core you are service oriented and about helping other people. I mean, each moment of your life, what can you do to serve someone else? Not only would life in general be better, but you would feel better about yourself. I tell you, it feels good to get a gift. I mean, every time someone gives you something, it's great. But when you give a gift to someone and you see the reaction on their face, what that does to you as a person, it's immeasurable. Like I don't celebrate Christmas too much. I think it's become commercialized and all this other stuff. But I have 3 grandkids, and they're 2, 4, and 6. And those boys, the looks on their faces when you give them anything is just priceless to me, you know. And I don't celebrate, but I will go out of my way to do anything I can for them. And when I give them something and to see that look on their face, it brings immeasurable joy to me. When I'm representing a client and I successfully tell their story and get them justice, the look on their face, the gratitude that they share with me is immeasurable. And I love that. And it makes me want to do more for people. And when you do that, it makes your neighborhood, your society, your community, the world a better place. It's hard to hurt someone that you care about. And you care more when you do more for people. I think in this world, we've gotten away from that a little bit. We need to get back to doing that, caring about others. Makes us all better people.
That's right back into that tribe thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're all in this together, brother. We're all in this together.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This was a fun podcast, man.
Absolutely. I love it.
So people like you are the reason why I do this, is to communicate to others how to become successful, how to help each other out.
Yeah.
Networking, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is super huge. It's
Yeah.
they call it networking for a reason. You don't.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just getting out there and and don't be afraid to totally mess it up.
Yeah. Because it's gonna happen. So just get out there and do it.
If this Ray-Ban wearing guy can make friends, anybody else can.
There you go. Absolutely.
Don't be afraid of what people think about you guys. Just kind of get out there and do it. Do your thing, and be unapologetically purposeful with the things that you do. Man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you had to take a break from some God's work.
This is a good break, though. I enjoyed this. This was fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, man. So if you know anybody else, man, shoot them my way. I'm always down to talk. I hope I run into you a little bit more. You ever need anything, man? Even if it's just to say, hey, what do you think about this? Just hit me up, man. I'm
right on.
I'm available 24/7, man.
Likewise, if you ever need anything too, I'm serious about that.
Yeah,
all right,
man.
then, brother. Good talking to you, man.
Hey, you take care, man.
All right.
Hey, I wanted to plug you guys on a new podcast that's coming out. It's called Return to Roots. It's retention, transition, and reintegration from military to veterans in the community. It's a resource podcast that's meant to provide actionable content to help military, active duty, and veterans transition, reintegrate, and also do well in their military career. It's important to have a plan for your transition and never too early to start. One thing that I always hear from everybody that's transitioned out, start now. I hope you enjoy. Take care.
Chart Your Fire is not an affiliate of the United States Navy, and the views expressed are those of the individual and are not those of the United States Navy and or the Department of Defense. All material on Chart Your Fire has been presented information as educational purposes only. The views expressed and all content of the Chart Your Fire are generalized and may not be appropriate for all investors.